somewhere in North America, lives an extraordinary chicken. The chicken's only purpose and passion is to capture and bring back to science the elusive beast known as Bigfoot. This superfowl is known as COT, the chicken of truth. Follow his adventures as he searches the forests of North America in COT's quest to find the truth on the existence of Bigfoot. On today's adventure, COT, the Chicken of Truth, has a conversation with Dr. John Jeffrey Meldrum, PhD, Professor of Anatomy and Anthropology at Idaho State University.
Morning. Just fine, thanks. Oh, sure, you're welcome. That's fine, you bet, sure. Well, first I need to say that I'm only tangentially involved with the Sykes project. I'm just helping out Dr. Sykes by screening a few samples so he doesn't get inundated with just mountains and mountains of Bigfoot hair, and making sure that we're prioritizing those that are the most likely, that have the most potential to yield DNA that may belong to Sasquatch. So, but to use the words that Dr. Bindernagel has used, he said that he feels that we're at a tipping point, and I really think we are. I think that the accumulation of evidence has laid a very solid foundation upon which to embark on this DNA evidence or this DNA search, and we're waiting not only for the results of Dr. Sykes' project, but Dr. Ketchum's as well, and I'm very anxious to see what her results show, and I'm excited that there is a second study now underway that will hopefully be in parallel and will either confirm or refine or elaborate upon the results that Dr. Ketchum has arrived at. But yes, I think this could be the year or the next that scale of opinion is tipped in favor of recognition of an unknown species. But then the work really begins. I mean, that's where we then have to really determine just what it is. I mean, the DNA can only tell us so much, and have to be cautious to interpret those data appropriately, and not overreach in our hypotheses. And that's where I've had a little bit of concern regarding the discussions of the DNA studies to date, is the rather fanciful speculations that have been bantied about by way of interpreting the evidence this way or that. It's hard to say. These things never quite go exactly as you plan, but the timeline that he has laid out is to have have the samples prioritized and selected, and he has a limited budget that will only allow him to sequence a limited number of individual specimens, and it's critical that those sequences be thorough and complete, because we're talking about potentially a creature that may differ by only a few percentage points from our own DNA sequence, and so to identify those distinguishing features requires a very extensive data set, and that comes with a price tag. So honestly, that's why it hasn't been done up to this point. And so it's great that the Sykes Project, someone of his stature and his affiliations, has taken a very pointed interest in this subject. And I think he'll be very forthcoming with any results that are to be had. I know he anticipates having the research, the sequencing done before the year is out. Of course, then I know that he is in negotiations with a documentary crew to chronicle the whole process. And of course, he is a very accomplished author and prolific author, and this will be the basis for another one of his writing projects. So there will be some of it probably that will be wrapped up in those two projects that may require us to be patient for the final say. But I think he'll be very straightforward with the results. Explain that something or species in this case, and so with the recognition then comes the challenge to then study it, identify its anatomy and behavior and its adaptations in order to protect it or manage it or understand its role in nature as what its existence tells us about our own evolutionary history and our own adaptations. So I don't, the appearance and morphology reflected in the footprints isn't going to change one way or the other, depending on the outcome of the DNA and what it says about the relatedness of this species to humans or to other great apes. So a lot of heat has been generated in discussions about whether this is more nearly human or more nearly ape in character, and I think there's just been a lot of misperception and talking past one another, by people who don't fully understand, the nature, the similarities and the distinctions between humans and great apes. When people say to me, "Well, I'm not a primate," that says a lot. People don't understand. Some people don't understand the terminology that is applied and our own classification amongst the animal kingdom, within the animal kingdom. We are primates, and if you don't think we are, then you need to educate yourself on what the taxonomy means. Even millions of years, probably. Yeah, even much earlier. Roots go back much earlier than the mammalian five-toed adaptation. So, Well, I'll have to consider that. My biggest challenge is finding enough time to do all the things that I want to accomplish. But I mean, I'm looking across my office right now, and I have one of your distant cousins here, an emu foot that my son brought back from Argentina, hanging on the bookcase over here, and it's quite an elegant organ. Yeah, it serves its purpose very, very well. As a back scratcher, too. That's probably not too far from the mark. I would suspect that a female with offspring would be much more protective and maybe much less inclined to frequent areas that to commonly have human activity. But I think more of the explanation rests with the human observer, and that is a smaller footprint is less conspicuous, less noteworthy than a huge footprint, and so it's the unhumanly or inhumanly, I guess, non-humanly, whatever, the excessively large prints that catch people's attention, and the ones we've seen kind of a rash of footprints brought forward that are in the 9, 10, 11 inch range that are very likely human. Given the morphology, they just can't be distinguished from human. So people are starting to at least look for things or notice things that are in the smaller size range. But then you have the problem, what would distinguish a Sasquatch track, a juvenile Sasquatch track, from a human track of similar length? And I have a hard time with some of the footprints that have been proposed as Sasquatch because they have all of the very distinctive derived traits that are specializations of the modern human foot, and stand in rather significant contrast to the distinguishing characteristics that set a large Sasquatch track off: the excessive breadth, the flatness, the lesser angle of the toe row, the more sub-equal toe pads. I mean, these are some of the distinctive features that distinguish the Sasquatch track, and we do in fact have small infant footprints as well, which are then typically found in association with what is taken to be a female Sasquatch, anywhere from 13 to 15 inches in length, say, which also seem to tend to be slightly more gracile, more narrow for their length than the 16, 17, 18-inch male footprints that have a very excessive breadth for their length. So, and those are interesting, and they have been reported. If you go to my book, in fact, there are some illustrations of a couple of examples that were collected in the Blue Mountains of Walla Walla by Paul Freeman and Wes Summerlin, and they've been witnessed by other people. My good colleague John Mayenzinski, one of the first sets of footprints in the blues that he examined outside of Walla Walla was a pair, a female about 15 inches in length with a little about 4 or 5 inch infant trotting along beside and wandering off to explore anthills and rotten logs. And then when the trail got steep, the little footprints converged on the bigger ones and disappeared. footage of the infant tracks in the ground from which, this is the same trackway from which the casts I have were taken. So there is information out there, and then there have been a couple of other, fellow's name escapes me at the moment, I apologize for lapsed, but there was a gentleman who showed me a very interesting looking infant foot, and so there are other examples out there. Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't hang them from your rearview mirror because they'd probably knock your windshield out. They're still pretty hefty, but yeah, certainly can do that.